Hey boys and girls, so up to this point we've been studying on our fractions, and we even made our unit fraction kits where we cut out the different fractions and to show what would make a whole, how each fraction set has to have equal sections to make a whole. And today I'm going to show you something that is really helpful if you're comparing fractions. Now I don't want this to confuse you. This is something that's a little bit harder. It's going to kind of be next level thinking for fractions. So if you're still struggling with fractions, I don't want you to be overwhelmed. This is something I kind of introduced in the classroom a little bit and showed you how to do it really quickly, just for the ones who were doing, really caught on really fast. I kind of just briefly went over it. It wasn't a skill you had to master in the classroom, but I think some of us are to the point that we could be using this skill, and it is going to help you in 4th and 5th grade especially, okay? So if you're practicing it now, then you'll be even better at it. So if this is something that's a little bit hard, or you have to rewind this and watch it a couple times, that's okay. And listen, there are a ton of videos out there. I just went and got on YouTube and looked for about 5 minutes, and there were like 10 videos that pulled up when I searched for it. It's called cross multiplying fractions to tell which one is larger. So you can look up something like that in YouTube and see all kind of examples, okay? You don't ever have to just watch my recording if you are still struggling. And of course, if you're still struggling or you're confused, you can always message me and I will get with you or send you more instruction or more videos that show you how to do it a different way. But remember, this is not something that is a skill you have to understand. It's just something that I want you to understand, and it will help you as we're covering comparing some of these fractions. So we know that if I have 1/8 and 2/8, we know that if the denominator is the same, like, let me write it out for you. If I have 1/8 and 2/8, we've talked about that if our denominator is the same, you just look at the numerator. Whichever one is bigger, that's going to mean you have more pieces. So it would be like 1 piece of pizza compared to 2 pieces of pizza. Of course, that one's going to be larger, okay? And we've also talked about equivalent fractions. So if I'm talking about 1/8 and let's say I'm talking about, let's make that 2/8 and 1/4. Now, if I have these that we made, I can look at these and tell that this is actually going to be the same. Okay, but there are times when I don't know just by looking at a fraction. So today what we're going to do is I'm going to do a couple of these on the board, and I'll turn the document camera on so you can see what I'm talking about. But there are a couple of these that you may not know just by looking at it, okay? It may be numbers that you can't visualize really quickly in your head, or they're so close that you're not really sure. Well, we have a trick to that, okay? So today I'm going to show you the trick, okay? And I did it really quick. I remember doing it on the board really quick and showing you, and some of you caught on, and some of you it looked like it was kind of intimidating you. But now that we have studied fractions again, you've spent the week kind of practicing some of these skills, I think some of you are really ready to kind of dive in and look at this. Now remember, don't be overwhelmed. Take it step by step. If it confuses you, rewind it, watch it again, and then of course you can always look up more instruction or email me, okay, or send me a message. So let's look together at this one that I have created. Now we know what 1/4 is when we look at, let me find my fraction kit. Okay, my fraction kit's over here. So when I have a 1/4 over here, this is from the fraction kit we made, and 2/8, I might not would know off the top of my head that those are the same, but when I have my cutouts, I can kind of lay them on top of each other and tell that yes, these are exactly the same, so they're equal. But I might not have had these cut out. What if I hadn't had these cut out? What do? Well, you can always draw a picture or a number line, okay? Now, if I draw a number line, I'm going to do 2/8 first. I like drawing 2 number lines like the video I showed you yesterday, okay? And we're always working from 0 to 1 if it's a fraction that's in between 0 and 1. Alright, now I've got 8s that I'm going to do first. So, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8 eighths, of course, would be 1 whole. Okay? So 2 eighths, I could go 1, 2. There is 2 eighths on a number line. Okay? When I'm doing fourths, I can go 1, 2, 3, and there is 4. 1/4 just so happen to fall right at the same point, so I can tell those are equal. Okay, so there's one way we can always tell. This is a way that really our books really encourages, and some of you did really well on the number line. You really liked using that number line, drawing it out, and this is a wonderful way to do it. Sometimes if we draw pictures, our pictures might not be exact, but when we do our number line, it's just a little bit easier to draw, and we seem to understand that pretty well. But I want to show you my trick, okay? And this is a fun way to do this. Now don't freak out. I'm going to do a couple examples of this, okay? So don't freak out if this gets a little confusing. Okay, if I have 2 eighths and 1/4, and I don't know which one is greater, and I've got to decide if it's going to be greater than, less than, or equal. Okay? So what I've got to do is I've got to decide. I don't know which one's bigger. I don't know which one is smaller. Here's what I'm going to show you to do. We're going to think about multiplying. Now remember, our multiplication sign is that big X. Remember that? So what we're going to do is we are going to multiply these two numbers and these two numbers. Okay? So the first two numbers we're going to multiply was my first group right here. 2 times 4, which equals 8. It always goes up here at the top. Okay? Keep it with your top number that you're multiplying with, okay? Not the bottom. Don't put it over here. So, 2 times 4 equals 8. 8 times 1 equals 8. So, I have 8 and 8. Is either of those greater than, less than, or are they equal? They would be equal. So, 2 eighths and 1/4 are equal. Okay? Let's do another one. Stay with me, don't freak out. Okay, what if I have, let's see, what if I have, let's do 1/4, and let's do 2/3. Okay, now remember, when we think about multiplying, we think of that X. So the first thing I'm going to multiply is going to be these two numbers. And remember, I always put my answer beside my top number. 1 times 3 is 3. Okay? So we're done with that side. 4 times 2 is 8. So with 1/4 and 2/3, I have 3 for this side. I have 8 for this side. Which one is larger? My 8. So it's going to go that way. Okay. Isn't that easy? Let's do another one. What if I have 2 sixths and let's do 3/4. Okay. Remember to think of that multiplication sign. We're going to put that X there while we figure out our answer. Always put your answer up beside your top number. 2 times 4 is 8. Okay. 6 times 3 is 18. So with 2 sixths and 3/4, when we cross multiply, which way should my alligator eat? 2 sixths is less than 3/4, so 3/4 would be greater. Okay? Alright, now I want you to get a piece of paper or a pencil, and I want you to do these next ones with me. Okay? Get you something to practice, because we're going to do these together. We're going to do a few of these together, okay? And I promise you, 4th, 5th, 6th grade, you're going to be so glad that you practiced this a little bit this week, okay? Because this is a wonderful help, okay? Let's do 2 8s, and let's do 3 6. Okay? All right, let's cross multiply. Remember, when we think about cross multiply, you can even put your little X in if you need to, just so you remember what to do. 2 times 6 equals 12. Okay. Now we cross multiply. Remember, think of a big X. So now we got to do this X. 8 times 3 is 24. Now I have 2 8s and 3 6s. I have 12 and 24. Alligator's going to eat the biggest number, which is 24. So 3 6. Okay, and that's why I'm having you draw this right off of the top number, so that you remember that this number is representing the 3 6. Okay, the 12 is representing the 2 8. Everything has to stay on the side that it's with. So that's why I have you write it beside the top number you're multiplying, okay? All right, let's do another one together. Okay, 2 6 and 3 7. I'm going to give you some time to write that down. Okay, now remember, when you can even draw in your little X if you need to, even though we're looking for greater than, well, less than, greater than, or equal to. Greater than, less than, equal to. Okay, these are the signs I'm actually looking for. But just to keep up with what we're doing, you can draw that in if you need to. Then you're going to circle your first crossover numbers, okay? It's always the top number of your first one, the numerator, and the denominator that it's being compared to, okay? That's what we're crossing over. That's why it's called cross multiply, okay? So I have 2 times 7 equals 14, okay? Remember, put your answer at the top beside the numerator that you multiplied, okay? Now it's time for me to use the denominator and numerator of the other side. So here we go. 6 times 3 is 18. Okay? And the reason I rewrite this at the bottom is because I kind of make a mess doing all that. Okay? That's why it's good to have scratch paper, so that I wouldn't have to mess it up. Okay? So now down here I need to decide if it is less than, greater than, or equal to. It's got to be one of those. I had 14 and 18. Alligator's going to eat the biggest number, which will be 18. That is representing this fraction. So my bigger fraction is 3/7. Okay? I hope this is getting a little bit easier for you as we work through some of these. Let's do another one together, okay? Let's see. Okay, give you some time to write that in. Okay, and let's start our cross multiply. We've got 2 and 3. 2 times 3 equals 6. Now I do the cross side, do the denominator and numerator of the other problem. 6 times 1 equals 6. So 2 6 and 1/3 are what? They are equivalent fractions, or they equal the same amount. Okay? So this one was kind of tricky. This one came up with the same answer, so they are the exact same. Okay? Alright, last one we're going to work through together. I hope you're working with us. Okay? Alright, let's do 3/7. Let's do a funky one. Let's do 3/7. And let's do 5/11. Okay? Going to practice those multiplication skills with this too, so I love that. You get to use those multiplication skills that we practiced, okay? Alright, so the first thing I need to do is what? I'm going to multiply what two numbers? Do I go straight across? Nope. I've got to remember, think of my multiplication sign. I'm going to do my first side of my x. 11 times 3 equals 33. Okay, now I'm going to do the other side. 7 times 5 equals 35. Ooh, this one was so close. But 3/7 is actually less than 5/11. Okay? Okay, so I know that was a brand new technique that we went over together, but I really think it'll kind of help you in figuring out which of these fractions is larger than the other, okay? It's a little bit easier than having to draw pictures and number lines. To me, this is the way that I was taught when I was young. It's probably the way that your parents were taught when they were younger. This is something that our book doesn't necessarily introduce to us yet, but it's one way that you can kind of be practicing the skills that you've already learned and carry it over into 4th grade, because it's something you're really going to need to kind of practice in 4th and 5th grades, okay? So it's just something I thought we could kind of play with towards the end of the week, and something to see if you can kind of get it. It's not hard. It's just kind of learning what to multiply. You know, that it's your numerator from this side and your denominator on the other, and then your denominator from the left side against your numerator from the right side. So it's just learning to keep those in order and thinking of it as your x and your multiplication, okay? So I left you a few of these problems on Google Classroom for you to practice. I hope you, if you have any trouble, just back the video up and watch me do one, and then when you do it, it'll be a little bit easier, okay? And I hope you did some of these with me so that you can work through Google Classroom pretty quick and kind of understand what you're doing. If you need any help, just let me know, and I miss you guys and love you so much. Bye-bye.